Hey gang, sorry about that. We're starting a little bit late. Just an hour. I mean, what else are you doing on a Sunday? Whatever. Okay, so weekly game news recap for the 2nd to the 8th of May 2022. So first up, probably the biggest news this week is that Square Enix have sold off a sizable chunk of their Western market. Oh, hey Melwin. Happy Sunday from Poolbag. How's it going for you as well? So, Square Enix have sold off Crystal Dynamics, Eidos Montreal, and Square Enix Montreal, and all of the IPs associated with them to the Embracer Group. We'll talk a little bit about them in a bit. And the deal was $300 million, which is pretty cheap for what they got, because they got a lot. Not only did they get the studios and the employees and so on, they got the IPs associated with them, which is Tomb Raider, Deus Ex, Thief, Legacy of Kain, and 50 back catalog titles, which is like all of the games, basically. So, you know, all those games on top, all of the many Tomb Raiders there have been, and on top of that, they also get like Avengers, Guardians of the Galaxy, and that kind of stuff as well. Super warm out here. Thankful for the wind for once. Yeah, should be nice, like a cooling wind. So yeah, that's pretty cheap. So they've been given a lot for $300 million, which is a bit ridiculous. Like Tomb Raider alone for that kind of money is silly, but I don't know. Who are the Embracer Group though? Because if you've been watching the channel, you might know, because I've mentioned them a couple of times now. But if you don't, let's give you a quick catch up. Basically, they're the remnants of THQ, pretty much. So, the Embracer Group is a sprawling network of independently operating publishing arms and individual studios that make and sell every type of game you could imagine. So they're like a big conglomerate of independent studios that are all operating underneath an umbrella company, as opposed to something like EA, who are like top down, or Ubisoft or Activision or that kind of thing. There's like a central board, if you like, who's in charge. The Embracer Group isn't really like that. It's like a group of people, but of course there's somebody at the top who's calling all the shots. There always is, but allegedly there isn't. Originally called Nordic Games Holding, when they bought some leftovers from EA, like some really shit, like stuff nobody really cares about, Gothic and Spellforce and stuff. Then they bought the remains of THQ when THQ went bankrupt, so they got stuff like Darksiders and Homefront. They rebranded themselves to THQ Nordic, so you may have noticed THQ changed their name at some point. That's what really happened. It's actually a different company. They went public in 2016 and rebranded to themselves as Embracer in 2019. Which actually, on sheer number of employees, it makes them bigger than Activision Blizzard, which is pretty big. Some other deals they've done in the past, which are all for more money than what they got for Tomb Raider, Legacy of Kain, Deus Ex, and so on. They bought Saber Interactive, who are ports. Basically, they make a bunch of ports for $525 million. They bought Gearbox Entertainment, who do Borderlands, for $1.3 billion. They bought an ad-supported mobile game publisher, EasyBrain, for $640 million, more than double what they paid to get fucking Crystal Dynamics and so on. Aspire Media, who are mostly doing ports of older Star Wars and Baldur's Gate stuff, but are now making the Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic remake. That was for $450 million just for them. 3D Realms, probably best known for Duke Nukem, $313 million. And December of last year, they bought Asmodee, who make board games. They make a shit ton of board games for $3 billion, so that's a lot. They're also the people behind Biomutant, World War Z, the Metro series, Dead Island. They bought Kingdom of Amalur when that went up for sale. They're also behind stuff like Ghost Simulator and Little Nightmares. They're the people behind the Saints Row reboot. There's a lot. They're a big deal. And they've been kind of in the shadows for a long time. And they have a very nefarious villain name, the Embracer Group. There you go. That's who they are. They are pretty much the remnants of THQ Nordic. Or THQ, rather. And they've just been bulking up, and now I guess they're the remnants of Crystal Dynamics and so on. Okay. But they didn't get everything from Square Enix Western Arms, so Square Enix are going to hang on to a couple of things. They're going to hang on to Life is Strange, they're going to hang on to Outriders, and they're going to hang on to Just Cause, as well as the Square Enix Collective, who are like some kind of small indie games. So studios, they'll be keeping all their studios in Japan. So Square Enix haven't given up any of their Japanese studios. And then they're going to hang on to Square Enix External Studios and the Square Enix Collective. The Square Enix External Studios are more or less publishers for Just Cause, Outriders, and Life is Strange. They're also behind Sleeping Dogs and Batman Arkham, although Arkham is now completely owned by Warner Brothers, but originally Square Enix did the publishing for that. And Square Enix Collective do things like Power Wash Simulator, Fear Effect Sedna, The Turing Test, some like smaller indie titles. So they haven't completely, left the Western market. They're still in there. Kind of curious though why they would keep, I get why they keep Life is Strange because it makes them money, but why did you keep Outriders? Because Outriders didn't break even throughout the entirety of 2021. So Outriders failed to make a profit in 2021. The game is yet to make its publisher, Square Enix, any revenue. So why are they hanging on to this IP? There was a royalty deal. So this is news from People Can Fly's earnings call or something, whatever. Although they're a private company, they shouldn't have an earnings call. But I don't know. They put out a report anyway. That the level of royalties depends on the amount of specific proceeds from the game's sale. So they didn't make enough money. The game didn't have enough sales in order to trigger this royalties process, so People Can Fly have received no money, basically, from Outriders. One kind of weird wrinkle in that is it's questionable if Square Enix purposely released Outriders day one on Game Pass so that they wouldn't hit those sales targets and so they wouldn't have to pay royalties. Maybe. There's another question of that it did bring in a bunch of extra players. Like it doubled the player base when they added it to Game Pass. So, it's one end of things they've kind of fucked over the royalty agreement because that's double the sales that weren't sales, so they never triggered this royalties clause. So it might have been fancy marketing, fancy accounting from Square Enix, but they're hanging on to Outriders for some reason. Who knows why? And what else are they going to do with that money? Well, something shit is what they're going to do with that money. So NFT market collapses just as Square Enix sells Tomb Raider to bet big on the blockchain. So Square Enix's CEO has kind of been hyping up NFTs and the blockchain and crypto games and shit for a while now. And it has been mentioned, there was a quote after they sold Crystal Dynamics and so on, that this will give us, funding to, do research into blockchain shit, just as the market is, about to tank. The NFT market is down 92% since last September, which is like stuff going for a couple of million is now only going for like a couple of hundred, if at all. The quote from Square Enix was, this is selling off Deus Ex, Tomb Raider and so on. The transaction enables the launch of new businesses by moving forward with investments in fields including blockchain, AI and the cloud. 300 million isn't a lot to be putting into those things, really. Like, it's not a lot of money. Like, they gave those games up for nothing, really. And the rest of this article from Kotaku just goes into why NFTs are shit, but I think we already know that. But yeah, Square Enix are planning on betting on the blockchain. And they gave up Tomb Raider, Deus Ex, and Legacy of Kain to do that. So, what are Square Enix doing? Like, they're absolutely asleep at the wheel. Okay. Some updates, a couple of small updates. Ubisoft Montreal will be taking over Prince of Persia: Sands of Time remake. So it was originally under Ubisoft Pune and Ubisoft Mumbai, Indian studios, but the development of Prince of Persia: Sands of Time remake will now be led by Ubisoft Montreal, very birthplace of the epic Sands of Time series. So the development team, the development studio, the team I think has long moved on, but the studio who made the original Sands of Time trilogy will be taking over the remake. This is coming from basically extremely poor reception to the original trailer for the remake. People were like, this looks fucking shit, and I was one of them. I thought this looks fucking shit. So they've taken it in-house. It was originally going to come out in September 2020. Then they gave it some time and said, okay, 2021, but no, that's not happening anymore. So probably 2023, maybe 24, possibly. And then very small snippet, the Summer Game Fest showcase dated for June 9th, or 9th of June if you're anywhere else in the world. This is Geoff Keighley's I Need More Attention, but this time in the summer thing, where they show off a bunch of trailers and he puts himself front and center instead of putting any of the developers front and center. But whatever, hype train, June 9th, get on it. New releases this week, Trek to Yomi, which is a kind of black and white monochrome Akira Kurosawa samurai game. It's a lot of fun. We played it on the channel yesterday instead of Strangers of Paradise, because I just wanted to play this instead. It's pretty cool. It kind of comes off as a sort of like punishing game, but it's not really. It's like you don't have a lot of health, but enemies also don't have a lot of health. So enemies die quickly, or you die quickly. That's the kind of stuff. It's a lot of fun. I think I'll be continuing to play it. Like, it will be the Saturday game for the next while. So come back and have a look at that, I guess, if you want. And then also released on everything except PlayStation is Citizen Sleeper, which we've talked about a little bit before. It's a cyberpunk kind of board game sort of thing, where you are playing a robot who is gradually waking up to sentience and intelligence, and you need to decide what you want to do in the world, you know, what your place is, and also trying to avoid being taken back into Big Brother and being made stupid again and so on. So we'll have a look at this, I think, on Friday. We'll have a look at Citizen Sleeper and see what it's about. I really like its UI and the kind of story it's trying to tell, so I guess we'll see how that goes. But yeah, have a look on the channel for that on Friday. However, it is now time to talk about the worst parts of video games, the video game industry. So this is an article from Imran Khan of Fanbyte talking about the Funomena, the studio, basically from start to end, what the fuck went wrong. We talked about it at the end of March, I think. People Make Games released a video going on about the behind the scenes of Funomena and how it's maybe kind of a shit place to work. So this article kind of just tracks from beginning to end what happened at Funomena. It's a really good article from Imran Khan, and I would suggest you have a look at it. But the kind of gist of it is Robin Hunick, CEO of Funomena, was well known in the games industry as this kind of, you know, really progressive voice, that they were very much like, we should be making sure people enjoy developing their games and not crunching and not always going for the money and so on. But it turned out in the background that they were very much about crunching and going for the money and fuck you if you don't like working here kind of thing. So it's a very two-faced person being unmasked, more or less, or being shown that their public persona was very much not their private persona. So yeah, I'm not gonna read over the whole article because it will do a disservice to it. But I would suggest you have a look at it or have a read through. It's lengthy enough, but it's a good read. And you know, a little disappointing, I suppose. Funomena, if you weren't familiar with, are the people behind Watam and a couple of other games, but that's probably their biggest game. Of course, it is now time to also shit on Bobby Kotick, but anyway, Activision urges shareholders to vote against proposed annual harassment and discrimination report, as well as having an employee representative on the board. So they're saying don't have an employee representative on the board. Why? Why is that? Why would you not want to have an employee representative on the board? What could possibly be the reason for that? Activision Blizzard has written to shareholders urging them to vote against a New York State proposal that it should publish an annual report detailing the effectiveness and outcomes of its efforts to prevent abuse, harassment, and discrimination in its workplace. Similarly, it also wants shareholders to vote against the proposal to put an employee representative on its board. Wow, that's some shitty stuff you're advocating for, Activision Blizzard. They believe that this report would not be in the best interests of the company or its shareholders. Yeah, probably not. It would be in the best interests of its employees, though. Anyway, They think that just making another report, rather than diverting energy and resources towards creating yet another report, we should continue to directly respond to employee concerns. But how do we know if you're responding to employee concerns if you don't have a report? That's the trick. You won't know. They'll just say they are and give Bobby money, and that'll be the end of it. Because remember, Bobby Kotick said he would quit the company if he couldn't turn around the culture, but they're not going to release a report about it. So he can just say that he did it and stay on as CEO. Anyway, elsewhere in the filing, they also say vote against a second proposal that it puts an employee representative selected by non-management employees on the board. So this is like employee advocacy union stuff. So clearly they're against it. A non-independent, they think that an employee representative would not be an independent voice, obviously. They're not meant to be. They're an employee advocate. That's the whole point, you dumbasses. And also claiming that the people who are on the board are independent, which they fucking aren't. But anyway, it would replace the careful judgment of the board as the criteria that should be reflected in a director candidate pool. Fuck you. You're just picking your friends, pretty much, and people who just want the money and don't give a shit about employees, but whatever. It is, of course, up to the shareholders what way they want to vote on that. And the shareholders aren't just members of the board. You know, there are others who are shareholders, like New York, the New York City employees retirement system. So the pension funds have also shares in Activision and a couple of other video game publishers. The New York City employees retirement system are also the people who brought up that this was happening, that Activision was urging shareholders to vote against these things. They were, because being shareholders, they would have also received this advice to vote against this. So they're the ones who made that known, and now they're also suing Activision Blizzard over the Microsoft acquisition. So they're accusing Bobby of hurrying the sale process, hurting the company's value, which would in turn hurt the pension fund, in order to avoid fallout from the publisher's multiple gender discrimination lawsuits and workplace harassment scandals. So this is Bobby trying to get his money and run, and that's what they're accusing him of. Given Kotick's personal responsibility and liability for Activision's broken workplace, it should have been clear to the board that he was unfit to negotiate a sale of the company. This is what the lawsuit alleges. Remember, the board stood behind Bobby on all of these harassment claims. Anyway. So yeah, sued again. How many is this now? There's so many. None of these have been tied up. The EEOC one, I think, which was a rubber stamp slap on the wrist. That was it. I think that's the only lawsuit that they've actually managed to clear. The rest of them are still ongoing. So following news from news that Ubisoft was potentially going to be bought, shares jumped 10% following takeover report. So Ubisoft shares jumped 10% on Wednesday following new claims about a potential takeover of the Assassin's Creed publisher. That was last week. Which we talked about last week also. According to Equities News and Data Services, the company's founding Guillemot family is considering teaming up with a private equity firm to acquire the company. The family wants to retain operational control of the company. So again, like we said last week, there's a history of the Guillemots trying to hold off hostile takeovers, mostly from Viacom, but from other companies as have come up. There's a couple of private equity firms who are looking to do that as well. They've been attracting takeover interest from several private equity firms. That's what we were talking about last week. So this is the response. Basically, the GMOs are like, okay, we can't afford to buy enough shares to keep controlling interest, so we're going to need to partner with a private equity firm who's okay with us staying in charge, basically. See how that goes. I think that is the plan. Can they do it before a controlling interest is bought out from under them? Guess we'll find out. I'm sure there's a clause that some agreement has to go through that they'll know it's happening, but anyway. We'll finish off with some dumb stuff, as we always do. So somebody finally made the inventory briefcase game from Resident Evil 4, the puzzle game. So this is Save Room organization puzzle. Is there a trailer for this? So if you have played Resident Evil 4, ooh, that's blurry. If you have played Resident Evil 4, you will know all about the Attache case and the inventory and stuff, and how it's sort of almost its own game, just trying to fit everything in. in a way that makes sense and in a way that is efficient for you to access and so on. That was done away with in Resident Evil 5 and 6. You had a very, very simplified inventory system, but in Resident Evil 4 it was like Tetris basically. And this save game organization puzzle, whatever the fuck it's called, is just this. It's just the game. Here's all the items, you need to make them fit. And there's some interesting stuff like you won't always have enough space and you might need to use the items. You know, you might need to like eat health items or combine them to make extra space or put ammo into the guns themselves and so on. So, I don't know, I think it'll be a lot of fun. It's currently PC only. Whether it'll ever come out from that, I don't know, because, you know, this is very, very closely tripping over Resident Evil 4 IP here, so who knows if it'll ever get any past that. But it's a pretty funny concept, and people have been like, they should just make this a game, like a Tetris game. It's like, yeah, okay, cool, we'll do it, and yeah, it's fun. Google is talking to me anyway. And also, why don't we just shit on Square Enix a bit further? Why not? Babylon's Fall dropped to just one concurrent player on PC, a single person playing a live service game. That's one person playing Fortnite. That's what that would be like. One person playing World of Warcraft. Oh, I think your game might be in trouble. Yeah, Babylon's Fall concurrent PC player count briefly dropped to just one user this week. Wow. Pretty bad. And Square Enix have decided to sell off a lot of their good IPs? Again, what are Square Enix doing? Who is in charge, really? And whoever is in charge should be fired immediately. Anyway, let's keep Yomi going. Anyway, that was the news, or the weekly news recap for the 2nd to the 8th of May, 2022. What the fuck are Square Enix doing? Like, I'm kind of happy that they're selling off, particularly Legacy of Kain, because the Embracer Group do have a habit of putting out, not niche titles exactly, but Square Enix would have focused probably primarily on the bigger selling games, so, you know, Tomb Raider and so on. Like, they wouldn't have really touched Legacy of Kain, and Deus Ex didn't do well enough for them to go back to it, whereas the Embracer Group doesn't really have that kind of issue because they're so spread out and because they have so many different publishing houses and so on. They're not beholden to just one game, you know, like Deus Ex trying to prop up the entirety of Crystal Dynamics or something like that. You know, they have the availability to like move money around. So I'm kind of hoping we'll see a Legacy of Kain soon, because it's been a really, really long time and it ended on a cliffhanger. And while I don't think they'll actually continue the story, it'll probably be a reboot, but still, more Legacy of Kain. I love that game. If it'll ever happen. And of course, more Deus Ex. Really like Deus Ex. We already know there's a new Tomb Raider in the works. A new Thief will be interesting, because Thief 4, or just Thief, was not particularly well received, but I liked it. Anyway, new games. Trek to Yomi was a lot of fun. We'll be playing more of that soon, and Citizen Sleeper looks interesting, so we'll see how that goes as well. Prince of Persia: Sands of Time remake being brought in-house, or being brought further in-house, I guess, back to the original studio. Not surprising, because that has been in development hell since it's been announced, really. Activision being sued again. Are we shocked? Not really. You shouldn't be. If you're shocked, you haven't been paying attention, really. Ubisoft trying to retain control. Yeah, again, that's not necessarily surprising. Guillemot will probably want to stay on as long as he can, until he's forced into retirement, basically. If he ever does. Do CEOs ever have to retire? Is that a thing? Is there a retirement age for like board members and CEOs and whatever, since they're not actually employees? Finally, I get to see Bobby Kotick news live. Oh, you missed it, Automaka. You missed it. We've gone past the shitting on Bobby news. This is the recap of shitting on Bobby. But yeah, he's being sued again by New York this time, by the pension fund people. Anyway, next week on the channel, we will be looking at continuing to look at Vampire. Stop making noise. Continuing to look at Vampire Part 3. Yeah, sorry, Automaka, you're a bit late. Continue to look at Vampire, so we're moving on to Part 3. I was a little bit at a loss what to do at the end of part 2 because I didn't want to progress too far. I am trying to kind of completionist it at the moment, so I'm a little cautious about moving too far ahead too fast, but I know what to do now. So we'll continue that on Tuesday. We are gonna start looking at 2064 read-only memories. That's the plan anyway. We finished Soma last week on Wednesday, so we need a new Foley Fables game. I have never played this game before, but I've heard good things about it, so I'm gonna give this a shot. It's kind of like an old school point and click game, point and click adventure type deal, but with more modern sensibilities, I guess, and it's a kind of future retro kind of thing, so we'll have a look at that. And then, as I said in the new releases section, we're gonna keep looking at Citizen Sleeper, or not keep looking. We're gonna take a look at Citizen Sleeper on Friday. We'll see how that turns out. So this board game AI thing, trying to find your place in the world, what it means to be human, and also trying to not go back to the man. And Saturday, like we played yesterday, we're gonna continue Trek to Yomi. So part 2 of Trek to Yomi. It looks like it'll be a short enough game. The PlayStation heads up thing has told me I'm 59% of the way through the story campaign. So that was from one video. So I guess, if it's proportionate and the game doesn't get ridiculously hard by the end of it, it hasn't gotten too hard. It's straightforward enough. I had been wondering, should I push the difficulty up a bit, because I'm not exactly steamrolling enemies, but I'm getting through most combat encounters without much difficulty. But anyway, we'll keep going and see how that turns out. So yeah, that is the plan for the week going ahead. That was the weekly news recap for the 2nd to the 8th of May 2022. Let me know what you thought. Let me know what your thoughts are on any of that news and so on. You can find me on Twitch if you're already watching it right here, or YouTube if you're watching the VOD, or on Twitter. Everything's under my face, Doomtrain5 on all of those. So yeah, hopefully I'll hear from you guys, or see some of you in the chat, or see some of you in the comments on YouTube, or whatever. See you out and about in the street, and I'll ignore you because I don't talk to people in real life. Anyway, I'll see you next time. Bye bye.